Good afternoon and welcome everybody to our webinar today, where we're going to talk about some recent research that Retail Doctor Group, in collaboration with Pureprofile, have conducted into understanding customer loyalty and, more importantly, what to do with this data, how to grow your businesses, and what strategies you can use to really gain customer customer cut-through and customer engagement. So today I would like to welcome Brian Walker, CEO of Retail Doctor Group, and Kate Richards from Pureprofile, and myself, Anastasia Lloyd-Wallace from Retail Doctor Group. Good afternoon, guys.
Good afternoon to you, Anastasia. It's a great pleasure to be here. And hi, Katie. Are you well?
Yes, I'm well, and I'm looking forward to getting stuck into this. Lots of good stuff to share.
Such a pivotal piece of work. So thanks for the opportunity to co-share with you, Anastasia.
Fantastic. Well, just a quick introduction to Retail Doctor Group and Pureprofile. So Retail Doctor Group, we're a consultancy and advisory company. We really specialize in understanding retail and consumers. We've been around for over 18 years now, and we work through insights to build strategies, but more importantly, implementation, how to actually action this in your retail store or with your consumers, to really understand those nuances and drivers, what it takes to really have a successful business. And then I'll pass to Kate for a little quick introduction to Pureprofile.
Anastasia, Pureprofile is a world-leading online panel provider. We provide the numbers that go behind all the research that we develop. We help brands understand the why and the behind the what through our unique solutions. So we've been around since 2000. We're a publicly listed company that's based in Surrey Hills in Sydney, and we now operate in North America, Europe and APEC, and we've delivered solutions for over 750 clients so far.
Fantastic, and it's been great to work together on this project. So apologies, I have just jumped slightly there. So just quickly, just giving you a bit of an oversight of what we did here. So what we could see that there was definitely a need to look into customer loyalty. We know consumers have changed drastically in the last 3 to 4 years, and we know their behaviours have changed, and what they need from brands and retailers and interactions is really continuously moving. But one of the key areas that we discovered, particularly talking to retailers, is this need to understand, well, how do we make customers loyal? How do we make them engage with us more frequently? And how do we make them talk about us as a brand? And how do we make them keep coming back to us above competitors? So we conducted a piece of research with over 1,000 consumers in the Australian market. And this is statistically representative in terms of age, gender, and location, to really give us a deep understanding of those drivers for loyalty, and more importantly, what we can do about it. So today we're going to take you through some of the results, and we're going to give you some tips and tricks on what you should do moving forwards. Fantastic. So some of the key insights. First of all, 83% of consumers actually say they are loyal. So there is a bit of a myth that consumers are less loyal and they're moving to purely where the transactions are. But what we could see is, if the offer is correct, consumers are loyal, even more so in the grocery category, with consumers saying they really are loyal to their favourite grocer. The customer connection to the brand, however, is the main reason. So this was really interesting. This was more important than price, more important than convenience. It was that brand. And if you've got your brand right, if you've built this emotional connection, which we'll talk about a bit later, this is really driving that customer loyalty. And one of the next stats is over 30% of consumers are actually willing to pay for loyalty programs, such as Amazon Prime, OnePass, and we're seeing the development more and more of these subscription-based loyalty programs. So we'll touch a bit more on that later on as we get through. key factors for lower consumer loyalty is really specific to the categories. So I think one thing that this research did actually show is that drivers for loyalty and behaviour are quite specific to your category, but are actually even more specific to who your customers are. Who are you targeting? So it really is quite nuanced. It isn't a one size fits all, and you'll hear me say that quite a bit as we go through. And finally, the importance of the loyalty program itself. So whilst 83% of consumers do say they are loyal, and this is based on the brand, the loyalty program does actually have an influence. And we can see that consumers, 1 in 2 consumers actually saying that they will go elsewhere if they've got a better loyalty program. So it's understanding what are the needs and drivers within this whole ecosystem. And a few more interesting stats here. We can actually see that 95% of consumers are actually members of one or more loyalty programs. And we've been tracking this for a few years now, and we can see this has actually increased since 2023. So we are seeing this progressively get higher. There's also been an increase in consumers saying that they're using loyalty programs more often. Now, this could be due to the discounts and the benefits that they are receiving, but consumers are getting more savvy and they are using these loyalty programs more frequently than they were 12 months ago. Approximately 50% of consumers actually state that a loyalty program does affect their choice of retailer. So that's saying that the loyalty program itself actually affects which retailers they go to and why they might go to you over your competitors or vice versa, and particularly more so in groceries. So we're seeing the likes of Everyday Rewards and Flybuys really influence consumers as to which brand that they pick on that journey. We can see that 2 in 3 actually say that they are influenced in some way by loyalty. Now, this is a really interesting stat. What this means is that the loyalty program itself influences their behavior. And some of the things that we're seeing it influences increased spend, increased visitation, increased word of mouth. So some really core aspects that all brands really want to get is influenced by that loyalty program. So again, showing the importance of having the right loyalty program to really keep them engaged. And then one thing which was actually quite interesting here, there's a bit of a myth that everyone's talking about, Gen Zs are actually less loyal. Well, this research actually shows, and this is something that we have been tracking for quite some time in all of the research that we do, that the younger generations are actually more loyal and they are using loyalty programs more often and they are more loyal. However, they are very much more demanding for their loyalty. So in exchange, they're expecting personalized loyalty programs, tailored solutions, and they really are much more astute as to what they actually want in exchange.
So a couple of the really interesting insights that Anastasia is touching on. One is that it's not one size fits all. It's driven largely by an emotional connection, and price and discounting doesn't have to rate as highly in many loyalty programs as perhaps many retailers are considering.
I think that's a great pickup, Brian, and I think we'll touch on this quite a few times as we go through. It is not one size fits all for loyalty. And so this actually really exaggerates what Brian's just said. Customer loyalty drivers actually change with age, but they also change with personality. So at Retail Doctor Group, we use a personality profiling methodology called Limbic Insights. And this is a neuroscientific methodology that really delves into the emotional drivers within the human brain. So we know that different consumers are driven by different emotions and different needs. And we know that we've got 7 different personality types. So within our research, you'll see us talk a little bit about how the drivers actually change for these different personality segments. But what the research did actually show is not only age, but this personality really changes what they want from you. So some personalities are really looking for a community. They want to be part of something. Other personalities are looking to engage in new, exciting, fun events. And others are just wanting extreme convenience. So we really need to understand your consumers on this emotional level to really understand what loyalty they're actually looking for. this is a great stat here. We talked about it on the last slide, but 70% of Gen Z and millennials say they're influenced by a loyalty program. When you compare that to boomers, that's double that of boomers. So particularly if you know the demographics of your target segment, it's so important to then understand, well, how do they react individually? What are their emotions, so we can really talk to them?
I think the point neatly made as well is that, you know, this attraction to a brand, well, a brand is an aggregation of emotional attributes. So here we are linking individual brand attraction, which is an emotional connection, to the emotional brand attributes. That's when we get really true personalized loyalty.
So let's dig into some of the data. So let's start with having a look at how does loyalty change by retail category. So when we conducted this research, we delved into the different categories to really understand, well, does it actually change depending on what consumers are purchasing? So we know that over 80% actually say they are loyal to a brand across all of the categories. But what we can see in this research is groceries significantly more loyalty. 69% of consumers saying they're loyal to their grocery retailer. Significantly high for takeaway food, so 54% in takeaway food. And yet the other end of the spectrum, homeware's been the lowest, so only 33%, so that's 1 in 3 consumers, actually say they're loyal to a homewares retailer. Now, this could be largely due to the frequency of purchase, but also the other attributes that go with that. When we ask the question of why, so why are they loyal, we can see that this differs again by category. Fashion, it's the brand, and it's significantly more important to consumers when they are purchasing from fashion retailers that it's the brand. Now, I'll ask you this question. You'll quite often have a favorite fashion brand, and you might say, I absolutely love Country Road, for example, or I absolutely love The Iconic. Now, the reasons for that, you might be able to list them, they might be quite transactional, but there'll be some really pure emotional reasons. So you might walk past the store and just think, yeah, that looks like me. So that is your emotional brain coming to play. And that is why the brand is so important in this fashion category. In the converse for groceries, we can see it's much more transactional. It's their loyalty program that really has an influence on why they keep returning to that store. So when we look at actually what's causing them to move to competitors, what's causing them to not be loyal, we can see this is where price plays a part. So we're going wherever's cheapest, we're going wherever has a sale. Takeaway food, it's all about something new, something different. And takeaway beverages, it's actually about convenience. I'm just going to what is the closest to me. So what this is telling us here is the importance that if the brand and the resonance with the brand is not strong enough, then our consumers are largely going to these transactional factors and purely playing on price.
The other quick comment I'd make, for many businesses, it's about becoming part of the habitual patterns of a customer. So we are creatures of habit, is often said. It certainly applies to this. And once we have that habitual behavior in place, it's ours to lose. And that'll be by not being price competitive in some categories, it'll be by service in others. And so it's a foundational piece of loyalty that I become part of you become part of my habitual way of being and consuming.
All right, so let's just take a breather there from the data that we've seen so far and have a think, well, what do we actually need to do about this? So I think we've touched on this quite a bit, but the brand and customer experience can really drive the loyalty. And that then takes you away from having to play purely on price. So you really need to understand what that emotional connection with your consumers is. And this is dependent on who they are, right down to the nuances of why do they come to you. Now, this customer experience can really be creating this brand and this emotional connection. Now, one of the things that we actually see here is the customer experience can be based on many things. It can be through your merchandising, it can be through your in-store design, your website design, how you communicate with them, how you talk to them, how your staff engage with them. So there is many points on that customer journey that really can influence that brand loyalty. And one of the things that we did see come up quite a lot, and we've noticed this in previous work, is that staff are a real key driver to customer loyalty. And what we actually see is more so, in particular, there's 3 of our Limbic Insights personality segments, and we know that that engagement with staff is first and foremost of importance to them. So really understanding what does that engagement need to be. Some segments actually prefer no discussion, no engagement, and some really want to feel that the staff are their friend and they're having a great conversation and they're really getting something out of that interaction.
Even down to the engaging sales conversation in the specialty retailer, for example, where the relationship, the exchange of names, the checking in that the service was good, all those fundamental basic operational pieces all build great customer loyalty. And as Anastasia says, more for certain personality types than others, but for the largest segment of personality types, very important to create that type of relationship.
Perfect. So let's now have a look at how consumers engage with loyalty programs and what these loyalty programs influence with them. So we can see that approximately 50% of consumers are actually stating that a loyalty program influences their behavior. So this nice brightly coloured graph actually shows us by category what is the influence. So we can see significantly more so for fashion, the loyalty program really is influencing that behavior. And even into takeaway beverages, there is a strong influence on that loyalty program. Now, we can see, as we touched on before, this diminishes with age. So I think we'll move a bit quicker through that. We've talked about that a couple of times so far. But this was the one that was really quite interesting. So 2 in 3 consumers are actually influenced by the loyalty programs. And this is a stat that we have been tracking for quite a few years now, right back to 2020. And we do know that this is slowly but steadily increasing. But some of the important factors that really are increasing here is 45% actually say that the loyalty program influences them to visit more frequently. And this actually has increased significantly since 2023. So we conducted this research around August last year. So it's actually less than 12 months and we have seen that increase. So this shows the importance. If we're wanting to drive customer visitation to our websites, to our stores, to our businesses, that loyalty program does play a large part. Now, even better, 27% actually say that they spend more because of the loyalty program. Now, again, this has also significantly increased since 2023. So what this means is that having a look at the return on investment of your loyalty program, really understanding, are we getting that additional spend, what's causing it, and how much are we investing in that loyalty scheme in return? We can also see that 19% are saying that it influences me to recommend the retailer or talk with the retailer to friends and family. Now, the information that we don't have here is in our previous research that we've done, we can see that the influence of word of mouth is becoming more and more important with consumers, particularly in the last 12 months as we've gone through this period of consumers having a low sentiment, consumer uncertainty, and during this period they're actually relying more and more on word of mouth. So we've seen this in all of our previous research. So to know that loyalty programs actually affect 1 in 5 of those on our loyalty programs to actually talk about it and talk about that retailer really has a high influence. I mean, one of the stats that we've seen in previous research is that word of mouth, someone talking about it, is the number 2 reason for consumers to try a new brand or a new retailer. So I think really the impact that might not be directly fiscal can really be seen in this word of mouth. And only 27% actually say it doesn't influence them to do anything. They're a member of a program, but it has no impact on what they do.
I think that's a really important insight. Businesses like Myer, when we look at their reporting, over 75% of their department store business is linked to the loyalty program. We do see a 20 to 30% uplift, particularly across omni-channel when loyalty programs are involved. So it is, as Anastasia says, clearly an economic driver, but it also has an indirect value to brand. And the final point of that insight, I think, was around what we call social proof and the growing role of the ability of consumers to be referral and endorsement points for the program.
Now, again, what we can see here is the increased use of loyalty programs. So we were actually asking consumers, how frequently do you use these loyalty programs? Because again, some more myths that we've heard of, and you might hear moving around is, oh, consumers are not interested in loyalty programs anymore, out of date, old fashioned. And I think what this data really clearly says is consumers, 28% saying, yeah, I use them more often. 61% saying, yeah, I still use them about the same amount, and only 10% actually say that they use them less frequently. So we really see this strong drive and need still there for loyalty programs. And we can see that adventurers, so one of our consumer segments, one of these personality segments, and this millennial age bracket are actually saying that they use it significantly more frequently. So again, understanding who that target segment is, who is your loyalty program really aiming for, will really help you understand the importance, the investment, and what that offer should be.
And I think if you bring that point full circle, what you realize and see is that in times of some uncertainty, we know from this study and a range of other studies through IDG Insights, the consumers navigate to brands they trust that bring certainty to uncertainty. And I think that's part of the momentum around a really tailored, effective loyalty program.
Now, what we're looking at here is, well, we've said that loyalty programs are effective. I think the data has quite clearly shown the importance of having one and the importance of building your loyalty. But what we wanted to have a look at is, well, what makes a loyalty program ineffective? And what we could quite clearly see, there was a very mixed range of reasons. So again, different consumers actually having different reasons to not use them. But one of the big reasons is the rewards are not valuable enough. Then consumers are just not seeing the value in these loyalty programs. And we see this quite frequently when we work with clients. Quite often a client will come to us and their problem will be they're investing a lot of money in a loyalty program and they're not seeing that direct return. Consumers are not engaging, they're not using their rewards cards, and quite quickly from sign up, they're falling off. So 30 days, 60 days, they're no longer engaging. And one of the things that we do see is these ongoing rewards are really not valuable through the customer's eyes for these consumer segments. So I think one of the things that we will dig a little bit more into, well, why? And again, unfortunately, the data actually gives us quite mixed messages as well. I don't earn high enough rewards points. I don't earn my points quick enough. I don't get large enough discounts. So consumers are saying, again, a wide range of things as to why they don't see value. But when we delve even further into this, we can see each consumer actually sees value in a very different way. So it's the importance of really creating a program now that is almost like an ecosystem. It's not purely about the discounts. It's about the whole combination of what are we actually offering? And more importantly, how do we remove the reliance on discounts and still get that loyalty engagement?
Isn't it interesting, Anastasia, the insight you're touching on about I don't earn the rewards quickly enough? Well, 36% of the respondents, almost 40%, said that. So this idea of immediacy in a reward program is important, isn't it?
Definitely. And I think one of the big trends that we saw as a consumer trend for 2024 is that need for quick reward or quick engagement, convenience. We've almost sort of during COVID in the last 2 or 3 years created consumers that want everything now, and they want everything on their terms, and they want everything at the touch of a button or at the click of their fingers. And we've definitely seen consumers change. They're much more impatient now than they ever were before. And this is not just in the personality segments that were classically impatient ones. We've seen that moving generally. So I think it's definitely this trend that we actually are seeing gain momentum.
Yes, for some personality segments, such as the performer, it's all about accruing the points and winning, isn't it? And for the hedonist, it's about surprise me in the program, something unexpected.
Yeah, making it different and interesting.
Mm.
So what are some of the most important factors for a loyalty program? Now, you can see by the pure size and range of this graph that there is a lot of reasons why people are saying that they like loyalty programs, and there is a lot of reasons why these change as well. So special discounts being first and foremost. Well, if anyone's ever conducted consumer research, you'll know that if you ever ask a consumer, do they want things to be cheaper, they will always say yes. If we ever ask about price, it will always be at the top of the list. However, what we can see as we move through it is that there's a lot of different attributes, whether this is personalized products, whether this is loyalty tiers, exclusive events, exclusive benefits, gifts, or special member prices. Consumers really want to feel that they are part of something, but also that it's actually quite personalized to them. And this is what we really did see, that consumers, as particularly moving forward in these younger demographics, are looking a lot more for these personalized loyalty. They've got to feel like it is for them, not just this one size fits all program.
A good point. And I think the point around special discounts for retailers listening is it's not about discounting the entire range or the category. It can be specific products. It could be aged products, for example. It could be substitute products. It doesn't have to be the entire range. So it can be very curated retailing.
So this was a great question. What would make you change your loyalty program? Change your loyalty to a retailer. And the number one reason was actually a better loyalty program elsewhere. So this also shows the importance of not only having a loyalty program, but it's got to be the right loyalty program. It's no point just offering, we're going to collect points and gain discounts, because as we've seen so far, consumers have got very different needs when it comes to loyalty, and that brand and emotional connection. So really having the right program is important. Otherwise, as Brian's mentioned, we are purely just offering discounts at the sake of our margins. We can see that there's some other drivers: free delivery, cheaper delivery, not being able to find the products in stock, a bad customer experience in store with the staff. So there's also a lot of items that do really damage customer loyalty to you and your brand. And we've touched on staff previously, but 1 in 4 customers are basically saying they would go to your competitor if they had a bad interaction with one of your team members. So this really just highlights the importance of having all of our team members on the same page. It highlights the importance of training with our team members, making them feel like they are part of the community, and the importance of the job that they do. Not having the right products in stock, so making sure that we've got what the customer wants. We touched on how impatient they are. They're not prepared to wait around anymore. So really looking at your whole retail ecosystem, do we have this great customer engagement at every step of the journey?
We have some clients who, for example, to support the point, use database uptake in loyalty program as a staff member KPI. So there's a great alignment on all the touch points, which is the point well made, I think.
So then just a couple of recommendations that we've touched on quite a few times, I think, throughout, but loyalty programs are not one size fits all. You really need to know who your target customers are to really build to these loyalty segments. And you might create a program that targets 2 or 3 different consumer segments and have something that's really specifically in there. I mean, we see some great examples that we're going to talk about next in loyalty programs. For example, Qantas and their tiered solution really appeals to that performer. As you move to the next tier, you get a congratulations, it's a big deal, you have moved up in the ranks of Qantas. And that really appeals to our performer consumer, as Brian mentioned earlier, who wants to win, they want to be the best. So they really are pushing themselves till they get to that top tier. So you really need to know what is going to drive customers to engage with the program more frequently, and in return spend more with the business. So really look at your segmentation, really know those consumers, both personalities and demographics. Look at their emotions, just understanding where they live, who their age, what they do for a living is really not enough anymore. We've got to understand who they are. But it also needs to link to your internal systems and capability and actually align with your brand. So you really need to have a full diagnosis of actually everything your customers want at every touch point with you. And then more importantly, how are you executing that? What is your in-store engagement? What does your online systems look like? What is your fulfillment needs? And more importantly, what support do you need at head office to be able to do this? And I think that kind of leads into that last point, really looking at your current systems and internal team capability. It's not as simple as purely the loyalty program. We need to look at what do we need to actually implement this in the customer experience, in the stores, in the website, having the ability to deliver the products on time. All right, moving on to our final section then. So we're going to talk a little bit about loyalty programs by retailer, and I'm going to pass to Kate to give us a bit of an overview of what we've seen for the loyalty programs by the top performing loyalty brands in the market.
Thanks, Anastasia. As we've touched on earlier, the grocery category has by far the most number of active members according to our panelists. So for Everyday Rewards and Flybys, the numbers are 79% of our respondents and 75% of the respondents are part of one or the other of the loyalty programs. The other number to take the note there is they have a very high actively used percentage. So not only are people members of these programs, but they use these programs a lot. In the food and beverage category, the McDonald's app comes out on top with 34% of respondents saying that they are a member of the app and 20% who are actively using that app. In clothing, footwear and sports category, Myer One is ahead in that, and in beauty it's Priceline sister club that comes out on top, perhaps surprisingly compared to some of their competitors. We also see that the airlines have a big engagement level, but what we can see also see apart from the grocery category is that the percentage of membership is higher than the percentage of people who actively use that membership. So there is a gap there, which also means that there's an opportunity there for brands. Next slide, Anastasia. Okay, so we can see that the top 5 favourite loyalty programs are no surprises: Everyday Rewards, Flybys, Qantas, My Rewards and Dan Murphy's, which should be up there. So we can see the numbers. So the interesting one is that Mecca's Beauty Loop, even though it has low numbers, the engagement, it still rates in the top 10 for favourite loyalty programs. So not as many people are using it, but the ones that use it love it. So we can see we know from previous research that Telstra has dropped from position 9 to position 14 in terms of favourite apps to be used, and Spotlight doesn't appear on the favourite list there.
And I think that kind of talks really well, doesn't it, Kate, to what we were just saying, that, you know, having a loyalty program alone is not enough. It's got to be the right loyalty program. And I think we can see by, Mecca and anyone that's engaged with Mecca, we know that they're really creating a community and creating something customers want to engage with. And it moves right through to the in-store engagement with the beauty staff, through to the virtual consultations online, and it's all part of this Mecca community. And then in the converse, the Telstra rewards potentially quite difficult to use, or there's been some different aspects that came out of the research for why consumers are actually saying it's there, it's big, there's a lot of aspects, but it's not really resonating with me.
That's right. And quite often with rewards points, with loyalty programs, you sign up because you're asked to at the store experience. So you kind of feel like you need to do that, but you haven't engaged with them because the program is not right. So that's where part of the reason why you see the drop off from being a member to being an active member. I signed up, but I didn't really want to sign up, but so I never use it. So that's a big thing, because the retailers are going to the trouble of signing you up, but once they've got you, then the follow through to keep you engaged is not necessarily there.
Great.
Yeah. So we've touched on this before. So 8 out of 10 of the most popular loyalty programs are seeing consumers use them more frequently. So we've touched on this before, and we can see the top 10 there that are being used a lot. So again, the everyday rewards, the Flybys, the Maccas, the Dan Murphys. What we also see in reverse, though, is the frequency of use for retailers such as Myer One and Priceline Sister Club. The frequency of usage has decreased quite significantly there. So that is something that the retailer needs to look at. Why are people not using it? So are they not getting enough rewards quickly enough? Is there no value to them? Is it too hard to redeem points? Does it take too long? Do I only see something on my birthday? All that sort of stuff. So there is opportunity for these brands to delve into their loyalty programs and their database and do research and find out exactly what is important to the people that are in their database, because there may be a gap. So you've worked hard to get all these people, and now you're not engaging with them. So it's an issue, but it's also an opportunity to increase engagement.
And I think this is where, me and you preach the converse, don't we? We talk about, you've got to speak to your customers. You've got to know why. Why are they engaging, or why are they not?
Yeah, it's the why question is the question. Okay, so we'll say it again. It is not a one-size-fits-all proposition. So we asked consumers what they liked and what they disliked about their loyalty program. So collecting points and frequent rewards are at the top of the list, but they are by no means the only thing that people are looking for. And we've touched on price and discounting. That can't be your only strategy, because there will always be someone who's going to be cheaper than you, and it becomes a race to the bottom. So you've got to look at all the other factors that people like and maximize those. But you've also got to look at the reverse, at what they don't like, and take steps to amend that. But again, it comes down to knowing who your customer base is and talking to them in the way that responds to them.
And when we asked this question, there was some great data, because we were asking specifically about each loyalty program. So it was really quite interesting to see how the likes and the dislikes changed drastically with each loyalty program as well. And so, the reasons why people were going to one was very different from another. So you can see how, again, the different target segments for each of these top retailers had an influence on what they needed from that loyalty program.
Yeah, exactly. So these are some of the reasons that people prefer one loyalty program to the other, and why they stick with one, and also why they might want to move if they're not receiving these things. So consumers want to earn their points quicker. They want value for money, so they wanted the discounts and they want to earn points. And they want it to be easy to redeem these points and to use them without having to jump through hoops. Personalisation, I'll build on that in a second, but people want to feel special. It's all about them. It's like, oh, Woolies really knows me and wants the best for me, or Mecca, or any of the brands. It's all about me. And they want a variety of different rewards. And we see Flybuys getting mentioned because they team up with other businesses, so you can redeem your points in a variety of ways, not just supermarket discounts. Touching on what Anastasia said earlier, they want a great brand engagement. They want consistent reports. They want it's not just about the loyalty card. There's a whole heap of things that go into that. So that creates brand loyalty, and that helps engagement with the loyalty program. So that staff experience, the personalisation, the special offers, the videos, all of that creates a community and an environment around the brand, and people just like what the brand is doing. So you need to be doing all of that to help with your loyalty programs as well. So the data is showing that consumers have a different need for loyalty programs. So simplicity, personalisation, and quick rewards are key for them. And this aligns with other research that we've done, which talks about make it quick, make it easy, and make it about me. That make it about me is a really important driver for loyalty. Mm. Okay, we'll have a quick look into paid retail subscription programs where people sign up and pay to be part of a loyalty program. So 1 in 4 consumers would consider signing up to a paid loyalty program if they thought the benefits were worthy enough for them to sign up and pay. So again, free delivery, special rewards, member pricing, free gifts, all of that ties into it. And it's not just one of those things. Consumers are looking for more than one. It's interesting to note too that there are 31% of consumers that say nothing on this good earth will influence them to sign up to a paid loyalty program. So, you know, never say never. Perhaps it's because they're not seeing the value in signing up rather than they would never sign up.
What I always say to that one, Kate, is in the converse, 69% actually say they would. So if we focus on that 69, which to me is a huge amount, that 69% say if the offer is right, I'd be willing to pay for it. So I think that's really quite interesting, much higher than we would have predicted it would be in the market.
Yeah, especially in the paid loyalty program space, because that's a relatively new thing. So for people to be taking that up is a big step forward. So if you're getting value, then you're prepared to sign up. If you're not, you obviously wouldn't. So let's have a look at some retailers that do that really well. Amazon, OnePass, eBay, UberPass, and Xbox Game Pass. I can't even say that. Within all of those different groups, fast and free delivery comes in as the #1 driving factor. But within each of those, apart from the delivery, consumers are looking for different things depending on the retailer. So what Amazon and OnePass do really well is they tie you in by bringing in the case of OnePass, aligned retailers, and in the case of Amazon and Uber Eats, different products that they offer. So by offering a program, you get benefits for not just one thing, but you get benefits from different retailers or for different products. So again, that comes back to the value that people are looking for. Uber Pass, you get discounts both on Uber rides and Uber Eats on the food. So it's valuable to them because they're getting value over lots of areas that they're interested in and they do take part in. So again, the customization is key, and it's again, it's that one size doesn't fit all, and it's about knowing who your customer is and tailoring the program to them. That's a key to getting a successful loyalty program.
I think one thing here that we should touch on, Kate, is that 1 in 3 consumers are now members of Amazon Prime. Now, we did a piece of research together back in 2018, I believe. Yeah. So 6 years ago, is that 6 years ago, we talked about Amazon before it actually launched. And we predicted, and everyone was saying it won't succeed in Australia. And we definitely said there was ways to fight it, but we also said it's coming whether you like it or not. And now to look at the Australian market 6 years later and see that 1 in 3 Australians are now members of Amazon Prime is quite a huge jump. I mean, it's still got a long way to go to where it is in America and Europe, where we see approximately 60% of people are members of Amazon Prime. But this quick progression for having the right offer for their target segment really shows that they can get cut through.
Yeah, and in a very short period of time as well. So yeah, that's right. That piece of research has turned out to be very correct in the fullness of time. So yes.
So Katie, you mentioned something very interesting earlier when you talked about Qantas. And one of the other aspects about loyalty programs are their contribution to the value of the company involved. So Qantas, as an aside, its loyalty program is worth on the market $4 to $5 billion. So some say it's worth more than the planes. And in fact, Myer also at 1.8 billion turnover, 75% of loyalty customers. So one of the things it speaks to a retail network about is the resourcing to run a loyalty program. Good insights, good resource internally, good team members, and dedication to building it, because it's proving to be a valuable asset on the balance sheet, such as the Qantas example, such as the Amazonian example, and such as Myer's example. So retailers are thinking increasingly about an asset on their balance sheet called loyalty programs, and the whole database and the repeat visitation and so forth. And investors are looking at retailers increasingly and saying, have you got a viable loyalty program that produces fundamentally future recurring income? So there's another twist on the loyalty program piece. And of course, if you know those customers, as you've both talked about so well, that adds even more value to the probability of recurring revenue. So that's another take on loyalty programs.
Yeah, those numbers are quite huge, aren't they?
Shows the value of them for sure.
All right, so just sort of, I suppose, moving now into our conclusions. I can't believe we've been talking for almost an hour, and I'm sure we could talk for a lot longer because we've got a lot to say on this topic. But we're going to wrap it up into a few conclusions. And I think we've probably said it quite a few times today, quite a few of these, but first and foremost, customers are more loyal than ever before. So there is a lot of myths saying that they are not. They are loyal, but it's got to be great. It's got to be a great experience. It's got to be an excellent brand. They really are looking for more than just discounts and points. Loyalty programs really do have an influence on customer behavior. And if it is not influencing your customers' behavior, then it quite clearly is telling you it's not the right offer. It's not what they are looking for. They're just really not connecting with it. And quite simply, I think all three of us have said this on repeat, one size does not fit all. We've really got to delve into the nuances of your consumers, the nuances of your offer. What are you different for? What is your point of difference? So as a brand, what is making you stand out to really then create this customer engagement and customer experience?
Absolutely. And so from our exponentiary, it's very much about understanding the personality drivers of consumers, because we know that 90% of behavior is determined by personality types. That's limbic model, which leads us into all these wonderful pieces that the ladies are talking about.
I'll let you continue down this, Brian. I think you were starting so well.
I just suddenly thought I took your thunder then. Sorry.
No, go for it.
To get the returns that retail businesses require out of their loyalty programs, to shorten that ROI, increase that ROI, shorten that cycle of purchase, number one is to invest, but to invest in understanding consumer psychology, the limbic mind that we all have, that determines our personality, which in turn is the why we buy. And as the ladies have talked about, it's a personalized, segmented experience. It shouldn't be about discounting. If you're a retailer that's giving out $4 to $5 to $8 million a year in discounts to maintain a loyalty program, we would argue you've got a discount program. You haven't necessarily got a loyalty program. And that's why all we see in this research, great experiences, great relevance to personality, great value add is more powerful than just price discounting. And then this leads us into these next pieces briefly. What are all the cues that align to that customer segment, that loyalty, from design online, in-store, experiences, staffing, much greater focus on loyalty drivers through every touch point of the brand. The old saying that 50% of my spend on loyalty programs or on marketing is wasted. I just don't know which 50%. So this is all about the elasticity or the accuracy of increasing marketing efficiency by deeply targeted spend into those segments. And as Katie talked about and Anastasia talked about, really tailoring service levels in quality, quantity, right down to script on the shop floor to those particular segments of consumers that prove to have the most love for the emotional attributes of your business, which are your brand. So it's a faceted, nuanced approach. It's not about throwing money at it. It's about being judiciously investing, starting with insights.
Perfect. And I think that brings us to the conclusion of what we wanted to talk about today. So we've really sort of, I suppose, skimmed over the research and really given you our insights into not only what does the data mean, but what to do about it. So if you haven't yet downloaded the white paper, please go ahead and download the white paper. You can do it either through retaildoctor.com.au or also on our Pureprofile social media channels as well. So go and get that data, really have a look. If you want to talk about it more, please feel free to reach out to myself, Brian, or Kate to really discuss in a bit more detail, and more importantly, to help you actually action this. Loyalty is one thing and having data is great, but we've got to make it work for us. We've got to make a return and make those changes to the business to actually see the value. So talk to us about how we can do that more with you and for anything else. So we'll also be uploading a recording of this session. So should you like to share it with others or with your team, follow our social media channels, and we will be putting that up on our YouTube channel later in the week. Just in case you've got nothing to do over the Easter weekend, you can always rewatch the webinar. And that's been fantastic. So thank you very much, Kate. Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you, Anastasia. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
And we welcome any questions. So please reach out to us on email, through our website, through our social channels.
Thanks very much, ladies. Thanks, everybody.
Lovely. Thanks, everybody.
About, diving into those insights for loyalty.
Thank you.
Thank you.